okay? So don't start to look at these techniquified. Next, say we're taking a shovel hook into the gut. As it comes up into our kidney, we can continue. Look, as we come around upwards from this, this naturally protects and continues forward. We protect against it by bringing our cover down, and it'll naturally continue forward. Sorry about that. Incidental casualty, collateral damage. So think of this not in terms of specific techniques that launch from here, but your ability to continue force from any natural range of motion and not stop. It's the gap between techniques that are your undoing. This is your opportunity to be able to create techniques from whatever you do on site, circumstantial spontaneity. I'll give you a different perspective on this. On the same exercises, he throws in the shovel hook, he blasts you, you continue. Here's your natural exercise. You stay in motion. You see? You don't have to stop and apply a technique. The moment that you have to recover from the unexpected, that's where you start on the downward performance spiral. It's your recovery from mistakes and the unexpected that determine your success. Elite athletes are not based upon who has perfect precision. Elite athletes and those that survive any combat engagement are the people that can recover the most quickly from mistakes and the unexpected events. What's important now is to emphasize the fact that performance is prior to precision. Performance is prior to precision. When you're working on your ability to improvise, what I want you to think is, how can I deliver blows at any time? In order to do that, you have to deliver blows at that moment. You can't think what specifically to do. Even in the creation of these particular drills that you're about to watch, I had difficulty because to demonstrate to you what I have to do, I have to perform a technique. So I have to create an exercise to show you. It's important to emphasize this point because everyone will have this problem if you try to look at it from the perspective of what technique can I apply from this movement pattern. You follow me? Not just fists, but open hands. And this is going to be more important than your fist from the initial paradigm shift to no distinction between grappling and striking. If your hands are open, you have the ability to continue to move. If your fists are closed, we're going to have to look at how this is still a grappling hook as opposed to this. Opening your hands, it's going to be easier to recognize. Now, we'll start with up here. If your hand's up, it can still apply force. Think of this in context of you move and you're applying force in a grab. This is the distinction that we started to make in shockability. This is going to go beyond that. If it should be instant instead of I'm going to apply a blow, pull it back, and attempt to apply another. The gap between blows, the gap between techniques is where you become vulnerable. This should be the application of blows instantly. The same thing is going to happen when you move to elbows. You have this natural range of motion. So when you apply your elbow, it's not pull back, rechamber. How is that different from you stay in motion and you start to careen into them. You don't stop because you are not trying to apply techniques. Rather, you happen to be wherever you are in space Thank you. You continue to throw blows so that you are accessing whatever is available at that point in time. In shockability, we discussed method 3, and shock inoculation in particular. The ability to throw blows immediately subsequent to one another on the same arm involves a trinity of motion, and we discussed this in priming your bioenergy. When we look at this in the application of blows, like we'll begin with horizontal fist, horizontal elbow, drawing your hammer back. So when you come across, think of not stopping the blow, stopping the blow, stopping the blow, but continuing in one motion. It should be that smooth in transition. It should not be where you're having a reactionary gap in between the techniques. It should be 1, 2, 3 immediately. You can do the opposite of the motion where you're coming uppercut, rising elbow, drawing your fist around. You can see how these are good drills to work on your own so that you're continuing to apply blows no matter where you are in space. And that can happen anywhere. If you throw your overhand and drop a diagonal elbow and bring your fist back, it should be the same. Always in threes. If you come up with a shovel hook, same thing is going to apply. Don't think in context of technique, technique, technique. No matter how fast you are, you're going to drag back in order to relaunch a new technique. But if you continue forward and you're just rolling a cascade of blows over top of him, we're going to start putting him into the vortex and head him down the downward performance spiral, which is our goal. So when you're working the drills, a good quote is, elite athletes aren't recording how much time they're training because they're doing it all the time. This is something that you can be working wherever you happen to be. Everything should be training. Taking these individual drills that we've worked on, how to apply 3 blows simultaneously, the trinity, and applying it to an individual, it's important that we remember our prior strategy from shockability called shock engineering. Our job, as I say this later in the series, is attentional saturation. You take all of your attention and you saturate it towards that triangle point. Our job is to knock him down, and it's not just with impellent force, it's to cause him a significant amount of deformation in his body so that he's careening towards the ground. Like if Mike's just standing here, I can show that these drills, 2, 3, will be following through, and you hit whatever target happens to be available. Like if I strike him in the jaw, his head's going to necessarily move. If I strike him in the brachial plexus, he's going to collapse underneath it. If I strike him in the testicles, he's naturally going to release it. 1, 2, 3. And you keep on collapsing and folding and rolling a rain of blows down on top of him. If his guard's up, this is our nearest weapon, so that's what we move first. We don't try and move around. We use the guard, meaning 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Wherever it happens to be, you continue to attack it. Even if he's covered up. When he's covered up, we tend to try and get inside blows as he's become super defensive, right? He's just absorbing everything we hit. The same trinity applies. Stand over here. So he covers up. He's super defensive. Remember, all of the tactics that we've worked on. So that you keep on collapsing and folding, and you keep on applying blows to whatever happens to be nearest to you. With kinetic joint recruitment in the application of impact delivery, there are three main tactics. The conventional tactic is projection. You align your joints so that you run along that force vector and you deliver the most amount of force that you can draw up from the earth, from the torsion of your spine as one unit, and the extension of whatever appendage you happen to be projecting. Fine. That's if you're playing the game. To go beyond the game, we have to think in terms of recruiting more joints into the motion so that we can generate more net torque. Whipping is taking one joint and rotating along its axis. Whipping is not a very powerful delivery of force. It looks like it's powerful, but it also delivers trauma, and it's not as powerful as recruiting all of the joints to generate more net torque. Each joint that you recruit, you're going to be increasing the net torque. One joint, 1, 2, 3 joints. First open hand. Even though it's coming straight, the force is being directed to the side, same as with whipping. So you have the same as projecting, but now you're recruiting more joints. You're not trying to run along a particular line, but at the last minute, delivering the force so that you're moving linearly. You can do that moving straight, projection, whipping, casting. When you cast, you all right? It's coming out and you're not stopping the motion. It's not. You're immediately going to bring your arm back so you continue the motion back into your guard. It's not going to be one of the one-hit wonders. We're going to be careening into him. But what's important is to know that you're casting a joint. If you're casting a joint, then you can relax the subsequent joint to the point of application. Meaning, here, if I project outwards, I have to pull it back along its same trajectory. If I'm casting a joint, I can collapse the joint subsequent to that particular attack and continue to move instead of technique. You follow me on this? This is going to be an important concept. Move from projecting, which is linear delivery, away from whipping to casting. Even though your fists are the last thing to make contact, you're still casting along a line. Sorry, I know you weren't expecting. Cast out rather than project or whip. Now let's take a look at the ability to collapse and fold architecture and how that applies in particular to impact delivery. Just keep your hands down for a second. If your hands are crossed, this is just going to emphasize the fact that the point of rotation in elbow delivery and getting this joint to a point of application is around the node in the middle of your arm, rather than this being the point of rotation. This is the point of rotation. This is coming back in order for this to go forward. This is going to be important, especially, grab a hold. This is the point of rotation in order to apply the blow. You don't have to release and then counter strike. If he has a hold, he's not controlling around the axis of the hold. He can only try to control the joint from moving. So if I move muscle against muscle, yeah, of course. However, your ability to deliver blows around the axis of his strike is what is going to give you that folding architecture. Wherever his hold is, that's the place about which you're rotating. Think of this, grab a hold again. We come over, we strike down on this, and we continue to fold, or we come upwards, we fold across, and we continue to rain blows down in his parade. This should be subsequent to the application of buttress blows. If your hands, come here, closer. Put this back for now. If your hands are holding on, think of this as not only applying force, but pulling force behind it. So if you apply it, I'm just gonna hit you in the arm. Just the strike, you can pull the strike to add more force and even to stabilize the joint. Grab around the joint. If he has a hold, wrist control, for instance, this can add to your force to start to apply more in that direction. If you think you're collapsed in, you're bracing against him and he's trying to rain a blow here, you trying to throw your cover up. As you throw your cover, you can also collapse and fold around it and pull the next blow into it. Wherever your hands are, think of the context of pulling your, if you're applying this blow, here's the point of rotation, here's your grab. Pull behind it, wherever you happen to be. So we have a fold and a buttress blow. Wherever you are, you're folding around the grasp and you're pulling it into him.